in Blitz as well. So we will be watching, of course, CARLSEN and ARTEMIEV. Very quickly, this game develops a theoretical line in the Grunfeld. Let's see how it goes for Vladislav Artemiev. He played with Magnus Carlsen in Rapid. He has played with Magnus Carlsen in Rapid, but there he was with the white pieces. The game finished in a draw. Meanwhile, let's mention that in the women's section we have the more or less similar situation. We have one leader who is Nana Zagnidze. We have Pia Kramling who is just half a point behind. And we have a clear third.
It's a Gunina.
Yeah, it's Valentina Gunina who has clear third spot. And actually I was checking a little bit, and in women's section it seems, well, it's still 3 rounds, but the distance, let's say, between place 1 and like place 7 is already quite big. And that means that we have a limited pool of players who can theoretically win it. So it's like Zagnidze cannot be moved too far away, right? Yeah. She might not win the event still, but she's like in top 5, yeah, almost guaranteed top 5, yeah. Unless she loses all 3 games.
She's Georgian, I said top 3.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, I don't really see the situation where she will lose all 3 games. I mean, so far it looks like she's in a very good form. Okay, let's go to CARLSEN and Artemiev. Artemiev pushes his, well, first of all, he played this, well, bit unusual plan, I would say, with bishop d7, queen c8. Pushed his a pawn, and now this rook d5. Somewhat surprising move.
Rook wants to go on h-file.
Yeah, it might be that rook goes to h5. It might be that, I mean, if the a file is getting open, like a takes, then rook can go to...
And now
so he proposed
a5.
g4. That's interesting. Rook d5, rook h5, g4, and then what? I don't really think you have.
a5 now.
Yeah, rook to d5,
rook d5
back, and so he waits to tempi, but the pawn is on g4. Pawns, as we all know, are not moving back. So some h5 now is the move White has to care about. CARLSEN already has some time advantage, but Artemiev, if necessary, he can play very fast, and he, well, I've just seen him playing the Rapid, and he rarely blunders. He is very inventive in tactics. So Magnus, in order to win this one, and obviously we all know Magnus is looking for a win in every single game, in order to win this one, Magnus will have to show his best. So AB3 happens. A file so far is for black. White's achievement is the knight on c5, right? And some pressure on c file as well. Well, but this time it looks like Artemiev goes a bit too low on the clock. I mean, he's down to 1 minute, so it's more than 1 minute difference, and he still can't come up with the move. I think that's what separates those, I mean, like elite players, we say, the very top, the top 10 players. That
they don't take a lot of...
yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing. And also, I want to mention that even in, say, in a kind of simplistic positions, there is still... well, was it a blunder by Magnus Carlsen, by the way? Because he went rook a1, and I think that was the moment where black could have taken on b2 and on c5. I think it was a moment of mutual blindness. Because it was, I'm sure. Rook a2, he went rook a1, and now black could have taken on b2 and then on c5, emerging with extra material. So, well, it's a bad sign for Magnus, I have to say. And I was informed, actually, in one of the games yesterday against Varuzhana Kobian, Magnus has blundered as well. I mean, it was not, his opponent did not see, but yeah. So, well, a little bit of luck involved as well, we can say. Right, so now this knight on c5 is getting exchanged, rook takes, and d5. Right, and remember I mentioned the a file is for black, but now who's going to have the rook on a file? It's going to be white. Takes, and he can, I mean, if he wants, he can go to a1. He will probably go to c1 instead.
Yeah, because of this pawn on c7.
Yeah. Also there is knight e5. Optically, White's position looks very attractive. He has more time as well. More time, more space. I mean, what else can you ask for? So to jump with the knight to e5 is
what about
an
some
option.
check and
Check,
then
yeah.
g5, knight e5, knight g4 ideas?
Well, so what he does like...
He wants to get e-file.
He does what, I mean, like a mixture of our plans with Katy, right? So he gave a check, but then he went rook a1 and rook d6. So the idea is if rook goes to a8, black will play rook a6, making sure that rooks are getting exchanged. Now, white can try to improve his knight's position. It's like b4. Okay.
Wants to play b5?
To get even more space, right?
Yes, and to block this rook to come on a6. I think it's time to play a6. Rook a6.
e6. e6 played by Vladislav Artemiev. So now what? Now d5 pawn. Well, it's not clear. Yeah, Magnus decided to take. It wasn't clear to me if, let's say, e takes d5 was such a big threat, because why would have e5 in this case and then still would have a majority on the king side. Alright, knight to g5, rook a6, and now you probably want to come to d-file back, right? Queen b3 attacking f7, queen e8, and then rook to d1 threatening rook d8. And this is problematic because, yeah, you have
maybe
no time.
f7, no.
You have no time for h6, I wanted to say. Yeah, so Artemiev decided to go rook d6, but this of course creates additional weaknesses in his camp. So queen goes to d5, queen e7, and then b5 stops this knight from moving. b6. Now he might want to move the knight from g5. It's done its job. Queen to a8. Queen c7, not going for a rook endgame. Well, queen's endgame, obviously. King g7, now Magnus has a chance to give a check from a1. Yeah, that's what he does. Queen f6. Looks like another achievement. And then b5 pawn is kept. There was a moment of hesitation. Did Magnus blunder this one on e4? Not really. Well, he definitely blundered queen b7. He thought, like, you know, the knight is hanging, my opponent will play queen e8, I'll win the pawn on b6. And now it's equalized, more or less. Magnus still continues to play for win, of course, but
h6 is hanging now.
yeah, h6 is a threat. h6 is a threat. Black plays h6. But I don't like how it looks. I mean, the way Magnus moving the pieces, I mean, it feels like he's, oh, well, knight c5. Now, black is prepared for knight b7. Knight f5, knight e6, and queen c1. h6 pawn cannot be protected, it seems. f3, well, it can. Knight g5, queen to c6, and now the exchange in knight e6.
Knight d4.
King is running, black still has, well, it's a fantastic little nuance. Look, the king
is trapped.
The king cannot escape from h7, yes, so Magnus carefully has to avoid running into double attacks, has to bring the king to b4, and I'm sure he is winning. I'm sure he is winning. Now he's taking the h6 pawn. Comes back with the knight. No, that's completely winning. That's completely winning. Well, he still has to be careful, of course, but guess what? Yeah, now knight goes to d4, and it's a victory for Magnus Carlsen, who keeps leading. It's a victory for Magnus Carlsen. Very, very important victory. So he
2 more rounds.
2 more rounds to go, and let's remind our viewers that a tie is still in favor of Magnus Carlsen, who has won a direct encounter against Karyakin. On board 1 in the ladies section, the game is still on, so I'm immediately switching to this one. Zagnidze and Claudia
We have the
Colon.
result on the men's section, board 2. Karyakin, Juvenki, they draw.
So it's a draw. It's a full 1 point for Magnus Carlsen. And what has happened? Zagnidze just won. Zagnidze just won, and what does it mean for her? I'm checking her game against Sebak. No, and Kramling lost to Sebak.
So
Kramling lost to
that means
Sebak.
that Zagnidze is...
And Gunina has won. So now it's a 1 point difference between Zagnidze and Gunina, and Kramling is pushed back to place 3. On board 4, it's Vasilia Grafa Ronian. The same guys who were playing in Tbilisi in the semi-final of the World Cup. While Aronian, I believe his position must be winning objectively. He has 2 extra pawns there. Check, king escapes on g4. Well, so the only motive that for some time, let's say, keeps black alive, that keep whites alive, that it's enough for him to give the knight and for the a pawn, right, and trade the rooks, which he almost managed.
I just saw the result on the board. 3 Anand won the game.
Anand won against Petrosyan, so
and he's one
Anand
of the
is
leaders.
quite close. Anand is quite close. We might see, or it was already. I'm kind of forgetting what happened. Anand, CARLSEN, did they play? They played today,
check.
right?
Yes.
I think we had this.
Yes, draw.
Yeah, it was the only draw Magnus made against Vishy Anand. All right. Look, and this is one very interesting endgame. It's not that easy to win, it turns out, because you can't trade the rooks with black. You can't trade the rooks. So some technical job is still to be done. Let's see. I know how to win this, by the way.
How?
In a schematic way. So, I mean, first of all, you have to bring, yes, let's say, so the problems will start when the king will come to h1, right? So before that, now next move, he will sooner or later get h3. Yeah, so white will be standing like this. And then you put, I mean, that schematic way to remember this, you put 4 pieces in a row. It has to be the pawn on h3, rook on g3, king on f3, and the rook on e and bishop on e3. Okay, I made it sound confusing. Yeah, but Aronian seemingly knows what he's doing. Bishop goes to e3. Now, well, you have to avoid the stalemates, because now, for instance, white king is stalemated. So it's a check, bishop f2. Okay, if the rook goes away, he protects the 3rd rank. Yeah, the whole point in this position that when white finally takes the pawn on h3,
there is rook.
He's in a, I mean, he is in a Philidor's position immediately. So now rook a8. And then, yeah, rook comes from the other side. Ah, well, so now it's a question if Aronian remembers the Philidor's position. Rook a2. What's rook a2? Rook here. Ah, well, and now it's no longer winning. It's a famous, you know, 2nd rank defense. So, well, it's not for nothing we were studying rook and bishop endgame. Let's see if Graf will manage to save this one, because now it is a draw. It is a theoretical draw. Rook f2, rook to g1. Once again, it's tricky for white. Check. King has to go to h4. And now rook f3 with bishop d2 check. No, there is no check on d2. And he's won. He has won. I mean, yeah, it's very, very tough to defend this one in Blitz. So Aronian wins.
Before your Blitz tournament, you have to how to win or how to defend your bishop.
That seems to be one of the most important positions. One of the most important positions. We've seen it so many times.
Many times.
Yeah. So let's check once again the points. CARLSEN is first with